I'll give you some of my spiritual beliefs on this one. I believe that humans innately know God, and it is only through the destructive society, that is social development, to convince people that there isn't one, and the pollution of our minds. So the pollution of our minds and bodies. A new Barna study as part of the State of the Church 25 initiative shows a groundswell of commitment to Jesus over the last 4 years. And I got to be honest, that's above and beyond me just saying I believe in God. Faith in Jesus is something much more profound.
So Timcast admits that he believes, there is a God, and he can sense it, he can feel it, but not quite ready to become a Christian, but still. He sees that, and Trevor Noah admits that church actually provides a good thing, despite his misgivings, about history. Interesting to note. Let's take a look at this video and see what it's all about.
I genuinely believe that this moral worldview, what is right, what is wrong, the 10 Commandments, and all of these things lead to better lives, to better futures, to more creation and productivity.
What?
And, for whatever reason, I come to my views and my conclusions. It is interesting to see how many people that are...
He concludes that? No way. It takes a lot of honesty, intellectual honesty to get to that. I got to keep hearing this.
Young have taken the full leap. It's not just young people. Russell Brand famously has, gotten baptized, become Christian. And then for me, let me see if I can actually add this story to, there's a pro skater who, let's see if we got this one. There's a big story about a pro skateboarder who got baptized recently. And I'll try and find it in a second, but it was a big deal for a lot of people in, actually, it's probably not the only one. And I think it was, I think it might have been Ragdoll. I don't know. I don't want to waste your time trying to find this article. I should have pulled up. There it is. I got it. It took me 2 seconds. Yo, check this out. This one matters for me. Newly devoted Christian Ragdoll back on the board after baptism, skating the streets with fresh faith. Tremendous respect. Tremendous respect.
That's so cool.
This is amazing. We've got this clip from Trevor Noah, who basically breaks this down. I want to play it. I'm not a big...
Okay. Just a disclaimer here. I really don't like Trevor Noah. He's not funny. Not even slightly. And it's really sad that people paid him and pretended, made him believe he was funny. And he's always been a lefty with... I don't think he was ever that intelligent or intellectually honest. So I'm pretty apprehensive to watch this. At least I just don't think anything he's going to say, though it might be true in the sense that he's stating facts, but whether or not he actually believes it, I don't. This is a thing a lot of leftists do, especially when they become irrelevant in the blogosphere, in the video content world, where no one's paying attention to them, so they know that they can get some sort of attention by saying something conservative sounding, because it'll get our attention and create a bunch of commotion. But anyways, let's watch.
Fan of Trevor Noah. But when you've got prominent liberals saying we need church, think about what this means for the future of this country and the direction it's going. I will say it right now. The right may not have won the culture war outright, but we are winning the culture war. And that's coming from a guy who is only moderately conservative, a little liberal in some areas, not even a Christian, recognizing the tremendous good this will do for this country. I want to add this. For me, church is community, and community gatherings are exactly what you need to maintain a healthy society. Listen to this.
When I look at what we're experiencing in the world today, there's no denying that church and religion is responsible for a lot of it. I mean, you name it and label it, right? Pain, the conflict, what, right?
Birth control.
You name.
Okay, that I'm going to call out. That's BS. Some, but not. I mean, for example, what people readily think of when they think of that is they think of Christians and crusades, Inquisition, all sorts of crazy things. And a lot of those events we don't actually understand as well as we think we do. But let me just go back and say a lot of the pain and suffering that people have experienced because of religion is actually because of corrupt leaders who know that they can get away with more evil and obtain more power by marrying their efforts and their ideological conceptions with the religion that shapes the culture. And also civilizations historically have always used religion infused into government in order to sanction government with power that you cannot oppose because it is the highest moral authority. So just keep that in mind, because this is a blanket statement that is never true.
Name it, whatever.
Never true on its face entirely.
But when I look at what people's lives have become, I can't help but wonder how much worse it's going to get when church falls away. So go to any thriving European country. Church is gone now. When I was in the Netherlands, all the churches that used to be churches are now
Airbnbs now.
Yeah, they've just turned into other things.
Really?
Yeah, they've it's like there's a restaurant or this is something. It's not a church.
So cathedrals are gone.
No. It's not a church. Churches are dying because I think it's easy for us to dismiss things in general in life. Like we always want to say good, bad.
Yes.
But to your point, I can't think of a place that is responsible for more community and connection than a church, because a church, you didn't need money to come to it. As we live in a world where more and more clubs are predetermined, like race, class, all these things, religion was one of the few things where you could opt in. You could walk in off the street and say, I want to be part of your club. And the person would be like, yeah, you're part of the club.
He's right. Community, people coming together. And I think young people understand this. For one, I got to be honest. I'll give you some of my spiritual beliefs on this one. I believe that humans innately know God, and it is only through the destructive society, that is social development, to convince people that there isn't one, and the pollution of our minds. So the pollution of our minds and bodies. I actually believe, and it's a weird thing to believe, I guess. Maybe it's crazy, but my view is that humans thousands of years ago knew God. There was no question. They knew God. And what ends up happening as we eat garbage and chemicals and damage our bodies and engage in practices, social developments that isolate us from the rest of life on this planet, we have created an environment where we can't understand. But I think it has to do with the bad foods you eat. I think when we are damaged from chemicals and garbage, we are isolated from God.
I mean, it's part of my religious belief that what you do to your body does impact your relationship with God. It impacts your ability to feel, to respond to know, and recognize the presence of the Holy Ghost, which God uses to communicate and to draw you towards Him. But I want to go back to something he said earlier, which was about all this younger, Gen Z. They are recognizing this about religion. There's community, all this other stuff to it. I'd say there's some truth to that, but maybe they're also seeing that the exchange of religion, of Christian religion, of godly religion, of spiritual, otherworldly religion, the abandonment of that, and the acceptance of the worldly religions offered out there, most of the Marxists, all of the material, maybe they observed that exchange, that switch happened amongst millennials and above and below millennials. I am a millennial, and they saw how terrible it was, and they saw that those who were doing well and who did not suffer in ways that they recognized were things they didn't want to have, they saw that those individuals had a firm grip on God and faith. I mean, I'm an observant individual, and I feel like a lot of younger people are, and they see those things. So yeah, they recognize this, but I think they also have this unique position to see, because as millennials, we came into this like we're being raised, and we get these idiotic ideas that a lot of parents and other adults who should have been more mature and realized should have called it out. These ideas like, let your child decide if they want to go to church later in life. Don't take them to church. That's forcing them religion on them. So how about you just let them grow up with nothing there, and then you're older, you say, would you like to go to church, Jimmy? Right? And some people bought into that crap. It's like, oh, okay. Why on earth are they going to choose church out of the blue when you gave them a whole lifestyle and context for living that was without it? They won't recognize the need, and maybe they never will, or maybe they will much later after much pain and sorrow and going down paths that they easily could have avoided if they had religion in their life. So just something to consider. Yeah, let's keep watching.
Jesus rises fueled by younger adults. We've got, what is this one? Americans 18 to 21 overwhelmingly support the GOP, tangentially related. And then we've got this from NBC News. How embrace of religion among Gen Z men may explain the rightward shift. I think that a combination of proper education and healthy living has allowed younger men to better connect with God and understand.
I really disagree with you, Tim, on that thinking, because you will find more often that people find God with poor education, poor living conditions, and all those things. And it happens around the world all the time. My church sends tens of thousands of missionaries all over the world, myself included. I've done it. Went to the Philippines, and they recognize Jesus and feel that presence. And maybe it's because they don't have the technological shiny things that can distract them. But no, sensing God and Jesus and these younger generations going more towards it because of better education and technology or living. That's dumb. That's a marriage between materialism and spiritualism that doesn't exist, and there's no correlation there. In fact, often it's a inverse relationship, and the better of those things you have, the more easy it is to leave and abandon the spiritual because you no longer see the need. So yeah, I think that's a bit ridiculous.
I do believe that,
but I don't want that to sound like mean or angry. I appreciate Tim being very honest and candid with his remarks here. Good on him. He's an honest man. He tells us what he thinks.
It is largely a component of people who believe in God. Christian conservatives have more kids. That will play a role in these numbers. But part of me just thinks that when you're living in a city, when you're gargling fluoride, when you're eating petrochemicals and garbage and you're unhealthy, your brain is so weighed down, you can't sense the presence.
Okay. So I'm seeing the ends tied there. So because these younger generations are maybe living without all those chemicals, they now have a clearer mind. Still don't quite agree with that, but I can see that being an aspect that does relate. Yeah. Seeing what he has to say.
Because I'll put it like this. The reason why I feel that way, and I have a feeling there's a lot of people who are more devout, because again, I said I'm not a Christian. I don't like the word deist. I do believe in God. And it's because
agnostic.
There's a presence I feel and understand as God. It's kind of crazy because when I talk to atheists, you can't convey that feeling. You can't transport that feeling. It's almost like being able to see or hear. Again, I'm willing to bet there's a lot of people substantially more devout than I that are like, I know exactly what you mean. I understand completely.
Me.
And that's why I think, I wonder if for a lot of people who are atheists, I don't know why God does what God does. That is beyond me. I am but a humble, simple human being. But there are people, and I'm wondering, like, how do you not feel what I feel? How do you not see what I see? But I can understand they don't. Otherwise, they'd come to a similar conclusion. And so I try to think logically, maybe it's because they've poisoned themselves with drugs. Maybe because they're not living the way they're supposed to be living. They're living in these technological boxes separated from nature. Maybe.
I mean, those do play an influence there, 100%. But I kind of wonder if he's going to get to the point, which hopefully he does, which is that also these individuals, these atheists he's referring to, also do not have a desire to change their life, because you have to recognize the fact that your life out of necessity changes once you accept certain truths. And if you accept a certain truth, you see that and you choose to ignore it and avoid it, it creates a level of misery or uncomfortableness. It's kind of like a thorn in your side. It'll bug you. And so if it's easier to say, like there's no possible way, because then I don't have to change.
I kind of feel like there are a lot of urban people who go out in the wilderness and look at a mountain and nature, and then they have that clarity of mind and they're like, I think I'm starting to understand what this feeling is. Maybe. I've heard stories. Take a look at this from Barna. This one was shocking. They say, at a time when organized religion in America faces scrutiny and skepticism, a new Barna study as part of the State of the Church 25 initiative shows a groundswell of commitment to Jesus over the last 4 years. And I got to be honest, that's above and beyond me just saying I believe in God. Faith in Jesus is something much more profound. And I will be the first to say, because I don't mean to be disrespectful, I do not believe in the Bible, Christian church, or Jesus Christ, or any of that stuff. I certainly believe he was a real person. I certainly believe these stories. And, Mary Morgan asked me, she said, it sounds like the only thing, she's on Pop Culture Crisis, by the way, the only thing you're missing is, do you believe the resurrection? And in that case, I was like, yeah, I don't know. I guess not. So I certainly am interested in these stories, and I believe that it's history, and I've read about it and things like this. Take a look at this. We are down from the past 15 years. In 2010, 77% of adults said, I've made a personal commitment to follow Jesus. In 2020, it dropped to 54%. However, since then, it started to go up to 66%. And the important thing is that it's Gen Z and millennials. Young people have begun, as they've gotten older, to actually start to have faith. What I can say is this. By all means, I've found that Christians have largely been very nice to me in saying, you've got to come to the faith, Tim. And all I can tell you is that I'm not there. You know what I mean? I'm not going to ever lie and pretend that I've found Jesus Christ because it's a grift pander. It's not going to happen. Some people, are like atheists, libertarians, and they became Christian, and some people accuse them of grifting. And it's like, look, man, I'll tell you what I think, and I will explain in great detail. You know me, I can't shut up. I'll talk about why I believe in God and what led me to that conclusion, and I have great stories that I like to tell about it. But what we can see here is, among millennials, take a look at this. Millennial men, 71% now are having a commitment to Jesus, 64% of women. For Gen Z, it's 67% of men, 61% of women. Now that's interesting because Gen X is at 66 to 64 and boomers are 66 to 62, more women. This is a growth that I think is promising. Why? Outside of church, in the religious context, the institution that Trevor Noah is talking about, where you build community, you are part of a club, you share your values, you share your moral tradition, is unifying, and it is the superior moral tradition.
It is unifying. And once again, this is talked about in great length in the book by Sir Isaac Sachs. Hopefully I said his name right. It's called Morality, which you should be able to click below in the link to you can check it out on Amazon. It's a really great book, but ultimately, there are reasons to believe, and life is better on the believing side. Maybe have different sorts of difficulties, but there's hope. And I love to see that there's more men finding this faith, because we need men to lead the way. We've had too many weak men leaders. I feel like we're starting to see some good new, Trump, I think, is a very, he's a solid man leader, and so is other people that are in the government right now because of him. But historically, we've had a lot of corrupt or just weak leaders, and communities as well have also had very weak leaders. So we need more solid, strong leaders out there. Thank you so much for watching this far. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. In the links below, there is the opportunity for you to support the channel. Don't forget to support it there. Also, if you know of anyone who could really benefit from hearing this, just share it with them. It's so easy to do. The more people who can learn about these things, the better off we'll be. So thank you so much, and live free until next time.